Hey everyone, so in the latest news, now I want to let you all know what I am going to be doing with my podcast. For those who don't know and for those who are listening now, you are listening to the Creative Lips podcast, where we talk about anything from music to fashion and to the latest trends, and also some tea. Yes, just a little bit of tea, no hearsay or anything like that. But we're basically, just going to talk about some tea. And also on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're all going to be having different segments. On Mondays, it's going to be talking about the latest news and trends. And Wednesday is going to be talking about Self-Care Wednesday. And just basically talking about self-motivation and self-talk, like anything in between, when it comes to loving yourself and motivating yourself to be the best version of yourself. And also on Fridays, it's going to be Music Fridays. I'm going to be showcasing some of the latest underground music artists that I feel as though who are dope and who are interested in submitting their music. So with that being said, I'm going to be talking more about that in the future. So stay tuned. Stay tuned with that. Okay, so now let's get into it right now. Now, lately, I don't know if you all have been reading the news. I try not to read too much into the news because it is disheartening and some of it is fake news, in my opinion. And so, but however, this is real news. Right now in Wuhan, China, there is a virus that's causing a massive panic in China, and it's called the coronavirus. The coronavirus has infected a lot of people in China. Now, this virus stemmed from them eating bat soup. Yes, bat soup. And I guess the bats were infected with it because that virus normally is in animals. And then as I guess it just spreads and, in humans, and it populates and then it causes death if it's not treated. And right now they're trying to find a treatment because it is massive and it is spreading in China. So this past Saturday was the Lunar New Year. Yes, it marks the Lunar New Year of the rat. Yes, for that. And in Beijing, they had to cancel all of the festivities that they normally have every single year. And it was very unfortunate that they had to do that. Now, with that virus has also spread it to the U.S. now. It has spread it to the U.S. with, so far from what I've checked, we have 3 documented cases here in the U.S. I believe it is 1 in California and 1 in Texas. And I forgot where the other one is. But however, we now have documented cases here in the U.S. for the coronavirus. So, as I can just say, just stay safe. And also just Google this information and, and see the steps that we all can do to be safe and stay safe. Just wash your hands and, if you're sick, stay home. Stay home. And not to say that you have it if you're thinking, not to cause panic or anything, but, those are steps that we can do just to take and prevent it, because it is also, quote unquote, the flu season as well. So those symptoms can be tricky when it comes to, being sick. So stay safe, everyone. Okay? Okay, now on to the next news. Now, yesterday was the 62nd annual Grammys this year. Yes, it came back around this year. And the host once again was Alicia Keys. This will be her second time hosting. And she opened up the show with paying homage. Yes, with paying homage to the late, great Kobe Bryant. Yes. Now, in that news, Kobe Bryant and his daughter was traveling to, they were saying that he was traveling to, I guess, a tryout or a camp, a basketball camp with his daughter, his oldest daughter, Gianna. And she was also on that helicopter. Okay? So on that helicopter, they were both fatally killed in Calabasas Hills. And that's very sad and very, very traumatic. And it stunned everyone. It even stunned myself that at first I am the type of person that like to know all of the news. I want to know all the news before you post, before you say, before you do. Just to know if it's, sometimes these things can be hoaxes. Because, sometimes, people put out hoax on the internet. And you have to really see what it is. In fact, if it's true. So far, it is true. So far, it is true. Not so far. It is true. That he was fatally killed in the helicopter crash yesterday. And he will sadly be missed. And, our heart and prayers goes out to the Bryant family. And yes. And that just goes on to say, I just want to say personally, tomorrow is not promised. I know people always hear that. Tomorrow is not promised. And people say, oh, that's just, we hear that all the time. Tomorrow is not promised. But yes, tomorrow is not promised to none of us. To none of us. And, we always remember people when they're gone. We always remember people when they're gone. Just like, I always believe and say, let's remember everyone while we're here. I believe someone said, I read somewhere, someone said, give me flowers when I'm here. Don't give me flowers when I'm gone. Remember that person, that loved one, whoever it is in your life. Remember them while they're here. Spend time with them while they're here. Because tomorrow isn't promised. That's what that means. Tomorrow isn't promised. So on to the Grammys. Now, Alicia Keys had literally almost broke down. She was really into, her speech. It took her a lot to really, get into her speech. So this is what she went on to say in her monologue for the opening of the 62nd Annual Grammys this year. She said, and we're literally standing here heartbroken in the house that Kobe built. Now, the 62nd Annual Grammys is always filmed in the Staples Center. It's always there in the Staples Center. And she went on to say, right now, Kobe and his daughter, Gianna, and all of those that have been tragically lost today are in our spirits. They're in our hearts. They're in our prayers. They're in this building. And I would like to ask everybody to take a moment and just hold them inside of you. Hold them inside of you and share strength and our support with their families. We never imagine in a million years we have to start the show like this. Never, 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 never. So we wanted to do something that could describe a tiny bit on how we feel right now. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. And then she also went on to say that we're going to love together. We're going to make sure that we are celebrating the most powerful energy, the most beautiful thing in the world. That one thing that has power is to bring us all together, and that's music. So after she said that to me, I just was just like, wow. She didn't say it personally to me, but I felt as though that she said it to me. But, it's for all of us that, it is in the music that people can find themselves and express themselves. And that's why I am also an artist. And that's why, I take pride and I love what I do when it comes to my music and songwriting abilities. And I feel as though that she was a great and phenomenal host this time around, the second year for the 62nd Annual Grammys. And that heartfelt speech was very good. It was set the tone for the Grammys. As I was watching the Grammys, I was going, on and watching it and seeing, the tone that was set. And the tone, of course, it was set and, of course, started off in a somber note. But however, it went on to the opening act. The opening act, of course, was Lizzo. The Truth Hurts artist said that when she won her award, she actually won an award for a best solo pop album. And she went on to say that when you think about your problems, it seems like they're very small. And then she also added that she wants to do music that makes people move. And I agree with that. Keep on making music that makes people, get into it, and also just to go back to what she also said about when you think about your problems and they seem small now, think about what's going on in the world, think about everything that's going on in the world. You have problems. You think that you have problems, but your problems are nothing compared to what else is going on in somebody else's life. So always take a step back and look at that. Okay. The performance, I believe Lizzo performance was awesome. She is always a phenomenal performer and always putting on a show, and being her best self and her true authentic self. And she's not ashamed of it. No, she's not ashamed of it. She's not ashamed of who she is, what she looks like, and what, she wants to present to the world. Now, going on to the next presenters, it was for the best country performance duo group. Now, I'm not going to get, I just want to let y'all know, I'm not going to get into all of the, the presenters and performers. So if you all would like to know who were the rest of them, the winners, performers, presenters, and so forth, go to Grammys.com. And then y'all can see all the rest. But I'm just more so just forecasting my favorites from what I've seen and some that were kind of interesting to me. And in this podcast. So getting back to the presenters for the best country performance duo group, can I just say, now it was Bebe Rexha and Shania Twain who presented this award. Now, can I just say that, did Shania Twain get some work done or what? Because, wow. Because when you look at Shania Twain, oh my goodness, she looked beautiful. She looked awesome. Hey, but, however, just like I said, she looked beautiful. She got work done, then, everybody else in Hollywood, it gets work done. And some speaks about it and some don't. But, overall, however, she looked beautiful. And, the best performance, in my opinion, of the night. Now, let's get into some of the performances of the night. Okay, so Tyler, Creator, he performed his song Earthquake, and it was accompanied by Boyz II Men, Charlie Wilson. And And, this performance was really interesting. He always, performs. This is his new look. He always performs his look where he has his, I guess this is his thing, where he's dressed in a short blonde wig and he had on a bright pink suit. And then he also had other artists, performers that was performing with him. They were dancing and jumping wildly around on the stage. And they also wore short blonde wigs and bright pink suits. And I just thought that performance was really captivating, was really interesting. And I was looking at on Twitter how some people say it was it will be magically embedded in my dreams. But however, that performance was interesting. Okay, now going on to the next performer, Usher did a tribute to Prince. Okay, now to me, Now, some people may disagree with me, but now to me, his performance was a little lackluster for me. Okay? Just a little bit of lackluster on the Prince tribute to me. But however, FKA Twigs, she did the damn thing, okay? I think Prince would love her. If Prince were alive today, I think Prince would have loved her. He would have loved that performance by her. FKA Twigs, she is a phenomenal performer. She's awesome. If y'all can see the highlights, if you can just Google FKA Twigs and tribute to Prince Grammy 2020. Also it was Sheila E. Sheila E, of course, was on the drums. Also paying homage to Prince, and that was phenomenal as well. And the next performer was Ariana Grande. Her performance was great. She's a great singer, great performer, and she sung Seven Rings and Thank You Next. And her performance was really interesting to me, because she also seemed to get choked up, even crying during the latter end, of that song, that self-love anthem, Thank You Next. And, overall, it was pretty good. And Billie Eilish, yes, Billie Eilish, the young breakout star. She made her debut performance on the Grammys this year. To me, it was very creative and unique always, as she is. Yes, and she was phenomenal as well. And then the next performance was Run DMC and Aerosmith. That performance was epic, as they reunited to sing the song that I don't know if any of y'all teeny boppers probably watching it didn't know, Walk This Way. Yes, they were the breakout rap group to even do a song that was like that between rock and rap back in the 80s. And also, Lil Nas X performance. Now, Lil Nas X performance was really interesting. It was an interesting collaboration with BTS. BTS, yes, the K-pop band, BTS, Diplo. And I don't know if y'all remember that kid from Walmart doing that yodeling in Walmart. Yes, he was there performing. And they were singing Old Town Road, of course, his hit. And also, of course, Billy Ray Cyrus. And then what really struck me, I was just like, wow, this was really phenomenal and dope. Nas the rapper. Yes, Nas the rapper also did the collaboration on Little Town Road with him as well. Now, Demi Lovato, yes, Demi Lovato came to perform at the Grammys in a while This is her first ever performance from her stint from being, going back and forth with her drug rehabilitation and battling, that epidemic of drugs and stuff. Now, her performance was an emotional tone. It was an emotional tone. It was dope. Her performance, I think that her tone and her singing, she has a phenomenal voice. Now, but by her being emotional, her tone was kind of like really loud. She was yelling, trying to get out, her words. Now, when she first started to sing, she couldn't get it out, because she started to cry. She actually literally cried. You could see the tears in her eyes as the camera zoomed into her eyes. And I think it was at first for her, it was really hard for her to get through it. But she did make it through. She got through it with a standing ovation towards the end. And the next performance, it was a tribute to Nipsey Hussle. That was very captivating. Okay, very captivating and interesting. The collaboration with that, of course, it was with Meek Mills. It was off of DJ Khaled's latest album. It was with Meek Mill, Roddy Ricch, and also it was with YG and Kirk Franklin. Now, Roddy Ricch, of course, is the next artist that rides the wave of the music trend today. And then towards the end of the performance, it was later followed by a backdrop picture of Nipsey Hussle and Kobe Bryant. And I thought that was dope and epic. And of course, they had to do something really quickly, for everything to do a tribute, because of course it was really untimely for Kobe Bryant's death. It's unthinkable, very unthinkable, unimagined. And everybody, I am stunned, very stunned to see, to hear that has happened, And the other performance that I love, that I was just like, wow. Like I was just like floored. I was floored. So floored. It's this artist by the name of Rosalina. If I'm saying her name, Rosalina. Yo, I am here for it. I live for her flavor. To me, she shut it down, okay? She shut it down. To me, she shut it down. She had that Latin and pop alternative style. It was so dope. Carbella, who? I don't want to say that, but no shade. But Rosalina is a Spanish flamenco singer, songwriter. She is, in my opinion, where the late singer Selena would be today. Just my opinion. Possibly. Okay. Rosalina received international attention after several collaborations she did with artists such as Travis Scott, Jay Blavin, and even Pharrell Williams. And then she also went to win a Grammy tonight for Latin rock or in an alternative. So she's already breaking barriers, okay? She's already setting the tone. Like, if you was to see this person perform, yo, this young lady is dope. And of course, the album of the year went to Billie Eilish. Of course, it went to Billie Eilish for the album of the year. Now, this is getting to the winners towards the end of the night. Now, the nominees this year were very interesting to me. And I feel as though that, music, just like I said, music is changing. It's changing. From what we feel as though that music is supposed to be what we want it to be, it's not. It's just not. It's very alternative. It's a mixture of everything. It's beginning to be very futuristic. It's beginning to be, something that is very different and change. And of course, towards the end of the year, who wins the record of the year again for Billie Eilish? So Billie Eilish swept the Grammys this year. She swept it. She swept the whole Grammys this year. And I feel as though, as her being the youngest breakout artist to date, I believe, I had a feeling that she was going to take it all. As people predicted that it was going to be like a mixture of everything. I beg to differ. I already knew that Billie Eilish was going to take it all. I knew that she was going to take it all. And she's only 18 years of age, this young lady is. She came in the scene when I believe she was like 16 or 15 or something like that. But, however, yeah, there it is. And there you have it for the 62nd Annual Grammy Awards. Now, if you all have watched the Grammys this year, sometimes I skip it. Sometimes I do skip it and I do not watch it because of a lot of the politics that is surrounding it. But however, I watched it this year because I knew they were going to set the tone for what has transpired with Kobe Bryant. But however, let's see if I'm going to watch it next year. So it depends, on who's performing and what is going to be about. So there you have it. That is my forecast for the 62nd Annual Grammys, and also the latest news and what's going on over there in China, in Wuhan, China. And then also rest in power, Kobe Bryant. And you will sadly be missed. Okay, take care, everyone.
Yes, Milan.
You are now listening to episode 7 of the Creative Lips Podcast.